Welcome to Vegan Business Talk with Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Hello and welcome to episode 35 of Vegan Business Talk. I'm Katrina Fox, journalist, media trainer and editor of veganbusinessmedia.com, the multimedia blog providing success tips for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs. In this episode, I interviewed Damien Clarkson from The Growing Box, a creative agency in London, UK, providing content creation solutions for ethical brands. A long-time and passionate storyteller, Damien has written for The Huffington Post and The Guardian on vegan and environmental issues. He recently co-created the short film Swine in partnership with renowned UK animal charity Viva and launched a new vegan education festival, Vivolution. Damien and his team have worked on some of the UK's biggest commercial and social good campaigns, and he has a strong background in marketing. He describes himself as a multi-potentialite with a diverse range of interests and a desire to helping both non-profits and vegan business owners to tell the world about the ideas and products that matter. In this interview, Damien talks about the importance of storytelling for vegan brands, how service providers can manage the feast or famine aspect of client work, the one thing your content needs to have above all else, the power of video marketing, the benefits of working with small boutique agencies over big name ones, and much more. Here's the interview with Damien Clarkson from The Growing Box. Hello, Damien. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Hi, Katrina. It's great to be on the show with you.
So the very first question I ask people, Damien, because you run an ethical creative agency with a focus on content marketing, tell us about the why. What's the driving force behind why you run your business?
Well, I think for me personally, I've always just been super passionate about storytelling. You know, when I was a kid, I was the kid in the classroom who couldn't be quiet. I was one of the teachers who were always asking to stop interrupting and stop talking to the other children. So I think I've just always enjoyed, telling stories in whatever format that I felt comfortable in. So, whether that's music, whether that's spoken word, whether that's through my writing, it's something I've always been super passionate about. So I think the reason I run this creative agency and sort of with a focus on working with ethical organizations is that I'm someone who has been drawn to social justice issues throughout my life, and I think the first one I really got very deeply involved in was the environmental movement and tackling climate change. And, as I sort of grew with that, I became more aware of the suffering of animals and the impact of animal agriculture on climate change. And so I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to run a business where I'm able to sort of take my passion for storytelling and help and talk about the issues that I care about and sort of, make sure that people find out about the really great campaigns and products that are out there in the world.
Fantastic. I love that you've been able to take your passions, both for writing and for storytelling, as you said, and for social justice, and turn that into a business. I think that's really inspiring particularly for activists, people who are looking to do that kind of thing and wondering, is it possible? And I think you're obviously a really great example of that. So tell us a little bit, because every business has its challenges, particularly when it's starting out. So tell us about what were some of your key challenges when first starting up The Growing Box?
Yeah, well, The Growing Box is an evolution of the agency that I had before, People Like You. And so I sort of set that up 4 years ago with a friend. And, my friend emigrated to Australia, actually. He stole her over.
Oh.
And so I went from starting a business with two people, and her husband got this great job, and they went over to Melbourne, and to be in a business with one person. And we were really successful, and we launched, had lots of clients, and we were really busy. And I found the biggest challenge definitely for the first couple of years of the business has been business development, because when we're doing work for clients, they really like it. It's really great. And, we're really busy with that. And like the natural cycle, especially with campaigning, is that there's a campaign that might be launched. It runs for a while. It has its successes. And then the campaign comes to an end. The organization looks at what it's doing. Then it launches another campaign in 6 months. And so those kind of periods where we're really busy with work, the business development side has always struggled. So, it's that typical thing. I think a lot of marketing agencies kind of encounter that they're so busy telling other people's story that they sometimes neglect telling their own story. So I think that's
a good point.
I think a lot of people I speak to who work in this kind of industry have the same time, because they're so focused on their clients and, helping them, create great content, that when it comes to thinking about their own kind of like business pipeline and what they're doing, there's just not a lot of time left for it. And I think any small business kind of encounters those problems. There's only so many hours in a day, and if it comes down to the hours you have and the client work you've got to do to pay the bills, and then kind of the work you'd like to do to attract more clients, it's always the work you have to do to pay the bills that comes first. And
that's right. Yeah,
it's a bit of a dichotomy, because actually, if you don't do that business development work, you can end up with periods where there's not so much work coming in. So
that's right. Yeah,
find that balance, and I think that's why it's important. Some small businesses are outsourcing business development to people, and I think that's an area that many small businesses could focus more on.
That's good. It's a really good point. I think that's particularly relevant for service providers and freelancers. It's that kind of feast or famine thing. Like you say, you get so focused when the job comes in and you throw yourself into that. And then when that's finished, because you say you haven't done that, kind of putting yourself out there to attract other work, it's that, okay, now it's kind of quiet sort of thing. So how have you overcome that?
I think now we're trying to think about keeping clients on a retainer and building more of a long-term relationship, and also planning, and sort of getting more of a clear idea and just be like, oh, it's great at the moment, but being realistic that, okay, in 3 months, this organization may finish this campaign and we might have to fill that gap. So, we start thinking, okay, we're going to have a bit of free time, a month or two in advance at this period, and we start working to build those new client leads. So I think it's about planning. It's about sort of taking a step back and being mindful of your work situation. So, at the moment I'm pretty busy. I'm quite busy, but I know in a week or two's time, a bit of work's finishing. So I'm working on lots of projects to try and get some new clients in. So I'm sort of been thinking ahead and, working to make sure when that gap comes that I'm ready with a new client to kind of slot it in. So I stay fully busy with client work.
Because you do quite a lot of stuff, like in terms of content, as you say, you do all forms of storytelling, from writing to video. So is it just you, Damien, or do you have a team of some kind, or staff or anything?
So pretty much throughout the history of this business that I've been doing, it's been myself. But I sort of had a realization about a year ago that I'm a natural collaborator. I love working with people, and I didn't get into this to work on my own. I always wanted to be freelance and build a team of like-minded people to kind of work with me. And so I'm now working with my partner Judy, who I also produce Vevolution with. So she's an events producer and great at social media and just really creative. So she helps produce the Vevolution Festival that we also run, and also she helps me with client work on the Growing Box. And then I'm also working with my friend Robbie Lockie, who's a environmental and animal rights campaigner, and he's a filmmaker, and he and I made the film Swine together recently for our client Viva. And
yes,
and
yes.
I'm also working with another friend called Sham, and we're making some really interesting videos about climate change at the moment. So it's kind of that associate model that I think a lot of service businesses have. Me and Judy are the core team, and then we work with other people who kind of fit well with us, and that we have good relations with. And so
fantastic. That makes good sense.
We kind of do the work, and then bring people in who are doing their own thing as well, but they also need to pay the bills, and that we can just collaborate and work together.
Fantastic. And am I right in thinking that Robbie, didn't he have some connection with Jamie Oliver?
He used to work for Jamie Oliver, yeah.
I thought so.
He used to work for Jamie Oliver, and he comes from an advertising background. And so Robbie's a great person to work with. We met about a year ago, and we just instantly had very similar passions. And when an opportunity came up to potentially work with people on their Face Off campaign, he was someone I naturally want to collaborate with, because he's got some skills that I don't have, and I've got some skills that he doesn't have, and together we were able to sort of merge those together to create what became Swine, the short documentary that we just released.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about marketing, because you've got a strong background in marketing, including content marketing, social media, film. So what are some of the key marketing challenges facing vegan business owners and entrepreneurs at the moment?
Well, you want to do everything, don't you? I think that's the biggest challenge for small businesses, especially vegan businesses, because we're so passionate about what we do. We want to be everywhere. We want to reach everyone. We want to sort of promote our products or services, and we want to spread the vegan message at the same time as doing that. But the reality is that the media platform is becoming more and more competitive. Really, if you're not creating great content, it's very hard to get seen. Like Facebook has completely changed their algorithms and the way they work. I think it could be one of the greatest marketing deceits of all time. Facebook promoted Facebook pages as a free way to reach your audience and build these fans who you're going to be able to speak to all the time. And then 3 years, whatever it was, now they switched up the algorithm and said, oh, actually, you're only going to reach 7% of the people you've got on your page, and then you're going to have to pay or hope that the post is popular enough for those few people who see it that it starts to then be offered out further. And I think I suppose it's a lot of businesses, especially pretty much all businesses and media channels now, are very heavily reliant on Facebook. And Facebook has become very much a pay-to-play platform, unless you create something that's really captures the cultural zeitgeist and is very relevant at that time. And I think that's a problem that a lot of businesses are overcoming, a reliance on Facebook. And
that's a good point. Thank you for raising that. Yeah.
And finding a time as well to kind of make that content that is really, truly outstanding, because you've got two options. You either pay with average content and you reach people, or you invest in creating something really outstanding and very culturally on point. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of creative thinking and a lot of budget in some sense. A lot of cases, if you're lucky enough to have great camera, great actors, great studio, you can do that stuff, but it's time and it's investment, and it takes a lot of creativity and space to come up with those ideas that are going to truly stand out.
That's right. And I think that's particularly the case for small business owners who are kind of so busy, particularly the ones that are bootstrapping and trying to do absolutely everything, like running the business, kind of working in the business. And then on top of that, having to, like you say, be everywhere. Like I know I got an email recently about how Snapchat is the latest thing for business and you got to get in. I'm like, oh God.
Well, that's a prime example though. So Snapchat is great. Even though they made it so that old people can't use it, I'm struggling with it. They've made it deliberately confusing. There's so many people who are my age. I'm in my 30s, and they're like, oh, I can't use it. It's so confusing. I'm like, they made it so us old people can't use it. It's for kids. They don't want us on there. But and they've made it deliberately quite originally. They made it very hard for brands to promote themselves, because you have to manually add in the name of the people you want to follow until they did their media partner thing with all the big media brands. If you go on it now, I'm looking at it now, you've got Vice, you've got Mashable, you've got MTV. These brands are paying hundreds of thousands to, be on there and have that direct reach with people. But Snapchat so you've got that email saying businesses got to get on Snapchat. But then Instagram launched their Instagram stories.
Yes.
So many of the influencers I know now are like, well, I'm just using Instagram stories because I've got a platform already, because I've got 10,000 followers on my Instagram account, and I'm on that platform already doing stuff, so it's just easier for me to capture it, and it's easier to use because they've made it for everyone, not just for teenagers.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
That's a sort of example of where you get drawn in and think, okay, I need to be on Snapchat, and then actually something that's probably better suited to your business comes along, and you've maybe invested a load of time on building a whole new platform with Snapchat. So you may be better off sometimes focusing on those platforms where you've already got a good reach and a good following,
That's a really good advice. Yeah, because sometimes it can be tempting to kind of go, oh, new shiny object, let's go on that. Whereas you say, I like the fact that you say that, well, actually, you might be better just sticking with the platforms where you've already built that audience. And like you say, come up with more creative and interesting content. So on that, obviously, one of the challenges, as you've touched on, is to be able to stand out above the noise, because now, everybody's a publisher, to get your message heard. Now, obviously, and we'll talk about this shortly, about how people can obviously hire an agency like yourself. What about for people who perhaps perhaps aren't at that stage yet, what are some of the things that vegan business owners and entrepreneurs can do to kind of to stand out and get their brand recognised more?
I think it really comes down to being unique. When Juliet from Viva approached us and said, "Oh, we've got this campaign called Face Off, and we want people to know about it." Her brief was, we want to do something different, and she really trusted our judgment, trusted me, and trusted Robbie to kind of come back with ideas that fitted with the organisation. Being vegans and being activists, we were, on point really with the ideas we came back because we understood the business, and it was a case of being creative and saying that we're just not going to do something that's been done before. And I think that lesson can be applied to any vegan business, no matter the size or the budget. It's a case of, okay, how can I do something that either is unique and different, hasn't been done before, and it kind of connects to what people would be interested in your brand. The other way you can also sort of stand up for noise is be of service, be of great service to people. If you're, say, a business that is in sort of health and fitness, your vegan business might be a vegan personal trainer, for example. Be of service to people. Don't always be thinking about that end sale. Be thinking about, okay, I've got an expertise in, fitness and weight training and running. Let's be of great service to people and offer my services for free where I can. Obviously, there comes a point where you need to convert that into a sale. But, be seen as someone in the community who is a sort of a helpful person, someone who will share their knowledge and sort of be generous with your time. And I think that's a way, especially for service-based businesses, you can build clients through being seen as someone who will do something to help others, and not always thinking about, okay, where's my next sale coming from? So yeah, I think it's obviously, you need to make sure you're not doing all your work for free, but I think being of service, just having that in the mind set, being generous with your time where you can. And I definitely try to do that. And, like today, I've got at least 2 emails to write for people who in the past have been of service to me and been very kind to me. And now they need me to help them, and I've got a massive list of things to do, but I will do that because, it's the way the world works. You've got to collaborate and help, and kind of, we're all vegan businesses, but all got the same goal, animal liberation, creating a world where people eat less meat. We want to shift the world towards veganism and save the lives of animals and tackle climate change and stop the obesity crisis. All those things are things we're doing. We all share the same aim as vegan businesses. So, we may be having different routes to how we're doing that, offering different services, different products, but, we've all got to help each other because we've all ultimately care about the same cause.
For sure. And also, I might point out, you're also doing this interview, which, is a form of service and generously sharing your expertise and insights.
Service to each other. It's very nice.
Exactly. So, Damien, you've branched out as well into making films and videos. So let's talk a little bit about video marketing. Why have you chosen to do that? And what advantages does video marketing offer vegan business owners?
I think for me personally, I've spent a lot of time writing blogs and articles for Guardian, Huffington Post, or wherever I can publish my work. And I've just felt more and more drawn towards film as a content form that I want to explore. And also from a professional standpoint, I really look at people like Vice and what they've been doing, and they've kind of taken the serious issues that young people was once told they don't care about by the media, the whole millennial generation, Facebook generation. They've been told, the media portrayed them as a generation that doesn't care about stuff. They care about themselves. But that's not actually true. Young people are completely written off by the media, and actually Vice have been the brand that have said, okay, we're going to stop just talking about fashion. We're going to now talk about climate change. We're going to talk about women's rights. We're going to talk about animal rights. And that's why they've become the number one kind of long form content producer on the social web. Their documentaries are just miles above anything that the BBC are doing or Guardian are doing. Actually, when I worked at the Guardian, there was very much a clear thing that came up a lot of times. Oh, we need to be like Vice. We need to do something like Vice. But because Vice basically, gave young people credit and took the lead, they've now kind of become the platform for sort of longer form video content. So I suppose I developed a sorry, going on, developed an interest in film as something that I wanted to pursue, and I think from a service offering perspective, I feel like that's where the most impact can be had now in terms of the web. I feel like there's so much content out there, and articles kind of sometimes just last a day. We're still thinking that news cycle. So, I've written some articles that have done really well, like when they come out on Huffington Post and had thousands and thousands of shares, but no one, remembers them 2 weeks on, but they remember a video they've seen. They remember seeing swine, or they remember seeing cowspiracy, they remember seeing video content about the same topics. Because I feel like maybe we're bombarded with so much information that long articles are kind of losing their value in a sense. So I feel like that's where I feel like a lot of impact can be had through video, and it's just the way we consume media now. We consume so much of our media on the phones, and actually video works really great on phones. So I feel like it's where vegan businesses can have the most impact. And I feel like for me personally, it was just, I was pulled to that, and I'm one for trusting my gut instincts sometimes. And yeah, it just made sense for me to start exploring that.
Yeah. Is it still okay for people to, as I say, if they can't yet afford an agency, to do like a professional shoot, is it still okay for vegan business owners to use their iPhones and do, some shoots with that?
100%. It's all about being real and being authentic. What young people especially are good at, they're good at sniffing out when people are bullshitting, for use of a better word. They're great at knowing when things aren't true, and that's what's most important, is that you've got a message that resonates and a message that's true, and you're actually being of service to them with your product or your service that you're offering, and you're offering something genuine and something that is going to benefit them. So I think definitely do that. And there's lots of really cool tools you can use. Like one that came out recently is called Quick, and it's made by GoPro. It's super simple to use, and you can just slot in photos, and the app basically adds lovely music, it adds really nice fades. You can do all that kind of stuff. For Fevolution, we've been making gift videos. They're really simple. You just have still images, and you pop them into these apps. You add a bit of music, and you've got a little video, and it's so easy to do. It's just,
and that's all on your phone. You do all that on your phone.
Do it on your phone. You can do all of it on your phone.
I'm going to have to check that out myself. Actually,
I can send you some stuff. But these are little quick wins, and I think that's the beauty of social now, is that there is a lot of tools that have been created to help people who maybe don't have great design skills or brilliant video editing skills, but the stuff is out there to use. The tools being made to make it so simple for you. Another one we use, Judy uses more, it's called Canva.
Oh yes, I love Canva.
Some beautiful stuff on Canva. It's lovely, great professional images. The colours are really young and vibrant, and it's a free tool. It's there to be used. So that there are these things out there, and I think it's about, as a small business, if you can't go down the route of working with an agency like ourselves or anyone else, you need to carve out that bit of time in the week, and quite often it might even be Sundays, where it's kind of brand time, and you think about your personal brand or your business brand, and you play around with these tools until you find things that work for you. And I definitely would recommend that small businesses do that and kind of explore what's out there. You don't need to be an expert, you just need to be authentic, really.
Brilliant. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Right. So in terms of the word vegan in a company's marketing materials, on the one hand, people think, oh no, we should shy away from it. It's a bit limiting, it can be a bit scary, or, it's clever niche marketing and we should embrace it. What are your thoughts on this, both for your own business and also what advice do you give your vegan clients, particularly your vegan business clients, on this, about how much to use the word vegan, the prominence of it, etc.?
It's kind of a tricky one, isn't it? I suppose with the two separate brands that I have, so I have the Growing Box, it's my creative agency, and then we have Fevolution, which is essentially a brand of the Growing Box. It's a product of the Growing Box, and which
is an event that you're running.
It's the vegan festival. It's like TED Talks but given by vegans. That's the easiest way to describe it. So,
that's very good.
Yeah, it's 15, 20-minute inspiring talks, and it's focused on education rather than kind of consumption. It's education-based festival. I think with Fevolution, we're very much the festival, saying it's a vegan festival because, last year, Vegan Futures, we did call that plant-based. But I felt very like thinking about how I want to take the new festival that I've created, Vevolution, forward. I felt that I really much want to own the word vegan, as I'm very proud to be vegan. And I think veganism, is the ethics, not just that we eat food that doesn't come from animals. It's the ethics. And I feel very proud of that. And I want to make sure that going forward, as the media writes more about veganism, that it isn't just seen as a foodie thing, it's seen as the ethical thing. And I'm an ethical vegan, and I want to be proud about that and promote that as someone who's part of this ethical vegan movement. And so Vevolution, we do brand as vegan, and we're very proud of that. With Grown Box, we're also very proud of being vegan, but a lot of our clients aren't vegan. A lot of our clients are charities. And, we definitely want to work with more vegan organisations than we do work with some at the moment. But it's a case of trying to find that balance. You can find it on our website. We say that we are vegan, we run our vegan festival. But it's not something we're overtly at the forefront of our branding at the moment, because I feel like in time maybe that will happen. I feel like at the moment it's kind of, when we talk to people, of course they look into us, they look into who we are and what we're about. They can see that we're vegans, but we want to make people feel comfortable with who we are when they come to the site first, and then kind of tell them the story about why we're vegan and why we believe in that. And it's kind of coming. I saw Melanie Joy speak recently, and I had the pleasure of interviewing her in Germany, Dr. Melanie Joy, who's written.
Yeah, I know Melanie. I interviewed her and read an article about her for mainstream media here a few years ago. Yeah,
great. So she's brilliant. She's a really inspiring speaker and sort of a really good advocate for veganism, I think. And sort of hearing her speak and talking to her afterwards, we were talking about how we can be the best advocates. How can we promote veganism in the best way? And I think something she said that resonated very much for me was that veganism, most of us weren't vegan at some point in our life, and actually for a majority of our lives, many of us weren't vegan. And we sometimes find it very hard to understand those people who haven't decided to make the vegan choice. But that they just made different choices to us, these people. But at one point we were exactly the same, and only from a place of understanding can we then communicate effectively about veganism. So that's kind of how I like to think about it, is understand that everyone who comes to my business isn't vegan, but also in my head know that they probably in their heart are interested in veganism. I just need to wait for the right opportunity and the right time to kind of talk to them about it. So
yeah. No, it's a great answer. I ask everyone that, and it's really good to get all the different opinions, and it often depends on the type of the business and who you're trying to attract and what have you. So that's great. Now, we talked earlier about how many business owners in the beginning, particularly they're bootstrapping, they're trying to do everything, and you very generously gave some tips and some tools for them to use. But what about when they are ready to take the next step? So what are some of the benefits of working with a creative agency such as yours?
Well, I think as a business owner, you become so close to your product, so close to what you're offering, that sometimes it's hard to see it how other people see the business and see what you're producing. And so actually having someone like us who can come in and sort of look at it objectively and say, okay, this is great, but you need to be doing more of this. We can have that kind of fresh perspective on things. And we've got the experience, of working with some of the UK's biggest charities and media companies to kind of bring that professional content creation standards you would find in these organizations to small startups. So that is definitely like one of the benefits of working with us. We can bring those kind of like professional big experience and kind of that objective viewpoint and kind of being a fresh pair of eyes to it. And, it means that you can focus on doing what you do well, which is create great products and services, and we can focus on doing what we do well, which is telling great stories. So I think it means that you can be better at your service and we can tell your story for you. And I think if you're going to afford to do that, it's definitely something I recommend people look into, because it now enables you to make your product better. It enables us to kind of bring to you the professional media skills that we have that can help you attract new clients.
Brilliant. So when people are looking for an agency, what should they look for when choosing an agency?
I think it's just really important to find the people that you connect with. And, I've seen it a lot where organizations, especially when I used to work in-house, have gone for big advertising agencies or big marketing agencies based on a name. And then they've ended up with really bad products. You know, they might have gone, oh, we're going to work with Saatchi and Saatchi because they're doing a really great discount for us. But Saatchi and Saatchi are getting their most junior members of staff to work on the product. You know, Saatchi and Saatchi are dedicating half a day a month to it or something, and they end up with this kind of really hollow campaign, when actually they could have taken that money and hired a smaller agency for 3 months, you know, to work pretty much full time on a campaign. They'd have ended up with something amazing. And I can see why that happens in big organizations, especially because there's so much pressure to deliver. And if your campaign doesn't deliver, and you went with the young agency, the kind of smaller agency, someone's like, well, we had Saatchi and Saatchi offering to do it. And there's always that person. You're going to be kind of under scrutiny and under attack for it. And I've seen it happen time and time again, actually. So I think don't be kind of attracted by the stardust of the name or of the agency and maybe who they worked with in the past. Think about what they're saying to you today and the person who's sitting in front of you, and whether they're someone you can do business with.
And whether they share your values as well, I guess.
Exactly. You know, and that's the thing I think where a lot of vegan businesses kind of go wrong. They go and work with these agencies that have no understanding of veganism, and then they're like, oh, disappointed that they don't get the right results. But I get why they do that, because they're thinking, okay, we need to break out beyond just the vegan market, and that by working with an agency who aren't vegan, they help us do that. But being vegan for me is just part of who I am. It's part of me. It's not me. It's not just me. I'm not just a vegan. I'm Damien. I'm a guy who's into running. I'm into music. I'm into art. I'm into, you know, storytelling. I'm into film. I'm a whole human being, and veganism is just part of me. And I think sometimes that businesses think that by working with vegan business, they're only going to be focused on veganism. But actually, like me and Judy and the people I work with, we've had life and experience outside of the vegan community as well. And and we're able to operate in those worlds and communicate in those worlds effectively.
Yeah, and I think you're right as well, because when I did an interview with Karen Ridges, lovely vegan publicist, and she said exactly the same thing. Yeah, you know Karen. She said exactly the same thing with PR agencies. You know, the bigger ones, they'll wine you and dine you with this, you know, the champagne and what have you, and then give it to the most junior member of staff. And she's even had, like, you know, interns ringing her up and going, help, what do I do, kind of thing. So it's interesting that that's obviously happening across the board.
That's been happening for years. So that's and you know, I've just seen it time and time again, and it's sad. You're better off, you know, going with a small agency, like, who believe in you and you believe in them, and, you know, create something good together.
Absolutely, yeah. So on the reverse side then, what do you look for in a client when deciding whether to take them on?
Well, it's kind of the same thing, really. You know, I made a decision long ago to work with people that I felt were doing good in the world. And that means that sometimes we don't take on clients. That means sometimes that we you know, we could have work and we have less work because we decide that we only want to work with people who are really matching with our values. So I think it's the same thing, you know, it's a partnership, isn't it? Whenever you work with anyone, and you need to believe in them as much as they believe in you. And so I think
for sure,
we look for people who want to be different and who know why they are doing what they're doing. And someone who can really clearly say to us why they're unique and why they're going to stand up from the crowd, and someone who wants to show a commitment to achieving the goal, you know. And it's difficult because you want to help people as much as you can, but it's almost like you both got to be committed to the same aim. And we look for clients who are committed to really truly transforming their businesses and becoming really great communicators. And if they're up for doing that, we're up for working with them, you know, as long as our values sort of match together. So
Perfect. So a lot of the stuff you do is content marketing, and you're a creative agency. What's the difference, if there is one, between a marketing agency and a creative agency?
Yeah, I suppose I think the difference is that marketing is about taking something that exists already and pushing that out into the world. So, you know, you might come to me and say, hey, I've got this campaign and I've got this campaign video. Can you recruit people to talk about it? Or can you get, you know, what Karen might do, you know, PR and get us in the media. So market that product out to what exists. And also other things like pay-per-click marketing and, Facebook advertising, taking something that exists and targeting people with that. What we do, and we do the marketing as well, but we do content creation. So you're coming to me and say, I've got a campaign about pigs, welfare pigs. What can we tell the world about it, and what can we create? And that's kind of what we did with swine. We took a campaign that existed and we created a whole new strand to it about antibiotic resistance with swine. And we made something that didn't exist before, and then we took it to market. So we did the bit at the end, but we developed it. It's something that didn't exist before. It was, can you help us create it? And then through our creativity and our writing and our discussions, we came up with an idea. Then we went and filmed that content and, edited that content and shot everything and created all the photographs and the artwork and the whole product, and created a whole new piece of content that will live on the web for forever.
Cool.
So it's actually about creating something and working in partnership to sort of develop digital products for people.
Got it. So you do the content creation and you do the marketing as well if people want it.
All services agency, but I think
you are
we definitely we do more of the content creation now and less of the marketing. Maybe whereas when I started out 4 years ago, we did more of the marketing, less of the content creation. But I think that's just a natural evolution as me as a content creator, and just experience as well. Just have more experience.
And I guess that's when the collaboration comes in. So if you created the fantastic piece of content and then you collaborate with an ethical marketing agency to then market it.
Yeah, that's definitely what people should be looking to do. And we're lucky that we've got the experience of content creation and of content marketing. And so we're able to do the social, the images, the videos to push something out. We know how to create campaigns from scratch or products, videos from scratch. So it's just, I'll tell you how it's people who have done lots of different things. They're the people I'm attracted to, the people who don't put themselves in one box and say, oh, I'm just a film producer, or I'm just a writer. It's the people who have loads of different interests, very much what would have been called a Renaissance man, or more modern term I like is multi-potentialite. People who...
Yes, I saw that in your bio. What was it? Multi-potentialite? Is that how we say it?
So
that's quite cool, actually. I like that.
Just the world tells us, society tells us that you must pick one thing. That must be your destiny, But actually, I believe we all have lots of different talents and destinies and different things that we can excel at. And that's kind of what we do. We have lots of multiple potentials as a business, and we want to work with businesses who, are up for embracing creativity. And the associates that I work with, like Robbie, other people with lots of different interests as well, who can create all sorts of stuff. So we're very much lucky that we have lots of different skills.
Yeah, no, I love that, because I'm someone who's a content creator myself, and just like branch, because I've been a print and online journalist for many years, so it's quite interesting, like getting out of the comfort zone into doing podcasting, and I'm really loving it. And so
I was thinking you're definitely a multi-potentialite, actually.
And it's funny that it's actually a really good talk, and I'll say this because I think people listening would be interesting. I saw a really good talk by Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote the Eat, Pray, Love book, and she did a talk for Oprah. I think it was for her Super Soul Sunday thing, and she said that when she knew that from a child she wanted to be a writer, and that was it, and she was so focused, and that was kind of it. And so she would preach to everyone, this is what you have to do. So whenever someone would say, I don't know what my purpose is, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, and she'd say, you must find this one thing that you're good at, and that's the only way to succeed. And her whole talk was apologizing about that and saying that's the jackhammer approach. But there's also what she calls a hummingbird approach, where you've got people, dabbling here and having a bit of experience here and there, and that's their gift to the world. And she did this big apology and said, don't let yourself be bullied by passion bullies like me. So it's really interesting. I like that you say that, because I think, I'm definitely a hummingbird as well. And I think you are too, which is awesome. It's great, isn't it?
I'm making a video for one of our clients at the moment, and I'm doing it with my friend Nick. And he's great. He's brilliant. He's an award-winning documentary film producer, and he's really super talented. And we're talking about his film. He's got a little film that he made, and he was saying online it's had less than 2,000 views. And I was talking about Swiney, how we've had over 50,000 in a month, and we've won no awards. We haven't been nominated for the American Documentary Film Festival or Canadian Documentary Film Festival, but we know how to market things online. And actually, we were talking about impact producing, and how a lot of filmmakers are now learning how to be impact producers, which is essentially how to take your film to market and how to make sure your film, whatever format you release it in, has the most impact. And that is just something that originally that people wouldn't have done, because they would have been, I make the films, but now, we live in a world where if you're a filmmaker and you want to make a documentary film, you are doing the fundraising, you're doing the script writing, you're doing the pitching, you're trying to get a production company on board. You might even be doing some of the filming, depending on how your role within it, whether you're behind the camera or you're in front of the camera, and then you've got to do the marketing as well. It's the same with, writing books as well. Now the authors are expected to do everything from all that, you've done it yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even when I was published by mainstream publishers, it was like, they take care of all that, kind of production side of it. But at the end of the day, their marketing was non-existent. It was like, you go and do it. We're like, oh, okay. But I think that's really good advice for creatives that you've shared.
I just literally got off a call actually with someone who came to they read your book, and they so I was like, I'm on Katrina's podcast, and it's like, I met her at VegFest in London, and she signed my book. She seemed really nice, and she's great. And I really liked her book. And I was like, I haven't actually read your book, so I need to read it. So next time I come on the podcast, I promise I would have read the book.
Oh, that's nice. Right? Thank you. Now let's talk a little bit about events, because we touched on this a little bit earlier. You did a festival last year called Vegan Futures, and this year you're running something called Vevolution. So first of all, tell me, why? How are they different to other veg fests? I think you've maybe touched on it a little bit, where you've mentioned the TED style talks, because there's a lot of vegan festivals happening now, particularly in the UK. So how's it different, first of all, from other veg fest type events?
I see us as being like completely different from those kind of events. So our pure focus is education. Education is number one for us as a festival. We're all about connecting people with like inspirational ideas and inspirational speakers, and also bringing people together on more kind of, I suppose, a niche scale. Vevolution will have maybe 500 people at it, including speakers and sponsors. But actually, you go to VegFest in London, there could be 10, 20,000 people coming through the door over the weekends. And this really isn't about the mass scale. It's about the people who want to be at the forefront of leading veganism forward as a way to live your life. So the people who come to our festival, I think someone said to me last year, it's almost like making more advocates, making more activists who are super passionate about veganism. So that's how we see it, almost like vegan advocacy training. So
excellent. That's great.
At the festival, I think at our festival we're probably going to have maybe 4 or 5 stands, and that's it. And that's not our focus. We promote some charities that we're passionate about as part of it, but our whole thing is getting people there to inspire others. And so the people we've picked are really inspiring, and we also want to put them on a stage that is we think is kind of fitting for veganism. So the main space is 400 people seated. There's no other space in the UK where you will have a stage like that. You will have the professional filming that we're going to put into it as well. So as I said earlier, TED Talks for veganism, that's really what we're trying to do. We're going to be making all the main talks in the main space available for free online afterwards, because we understand that not everyone can get to London, not everyone can afford £35 for a ticket, but we want to spread this education. So we're investing that money, into making sure that others can access these talks and they have a life online. And because we're in the marketing game, the content creation game, as the Growing Box, we understand the quality of doing things well. And, we're investing in professional audio setups, professional visual setups. We're having a stage designed, and it's really, I think I've described it before, as like taking veganism into the spotlight. And the other festivals around the UK, that some of these are done, they're brilliant festivals. They're done it's amazing what people put on, and they're great speakers, but the people are speaking in small kind of dark rooms. And that's not what we're about. We're about showcasing veganism as a way that people can live a better, more happy, healthier, compassionate life. And we feel like we want to give it that beautiful stage so people can do that. And, for the tickets, people get their breakfast, they get a goodie bag. I think last year there was over £15 worth of stuff in that goodie bag. So actually, once you sort of go, I'm getting fed, I'm getting all these great things to take home from us. And then I'm getting a day where I've get to meet loads of people that I've wanted to meet before that I haven't had the opportunity to, make loads of new friends. And I think really the way it came about last year is that I knew loads of great people in the vegan community, and I felt like they didn't know each other. And I just wanted to bring everyone together and say, okay, get together, all become friends, and let's build this community out. And you've seen that in London. There's been an absolutely massive expansion and kind of one vegan activists. I know, for example, at least several people who came to Vegan Futures last year who are now really prominent vegan advocates online through coming to that festival and being inspired by what they heard and just getting out there and setting up YouTube channels and starting activism, doing street interviews. And I think that's how I see it, really. And I think it's just a totally different thing. Totally different thing. And
cool.
Let me just say, I think VegFest is great. I think what they're doing is fantastic. The amount of people they pull through and the amount of people they give access to vegan foods and that kind of thing. But it's just not our game, and it's a different mindset that we're trying to promote. We're trying to promote that you're going to come here, you're going to get some nice stuff to take home with you, you're going to eat some nice vegan food, but really it's about coming together and learning from each other and having the time and space and the quiet to listen to each other.
Excellent. Now, running events can be obviously a great marketing tool for a business or for a brand. So tell us about what are some of the challenges involved in running events and what tips can you offer to particularly vegan businesses, vegan brands that are maybe thinking of holding their own kind of events?
In London, getting a venue that meets your needs for an affordable price is a massive challenge because, I live in one of the most expensive cities in the world, and to hire a space that fits with our requirements for the festival in terms of how many people we want to be there, the kind of setting that we want to create, it's really not cheap. So that has definitely been a big challenge for us. In terms of there's so many things you just don't think about, like health assessments, risk assessments, how are you going to sell the tickets? We're lucky that we have a pre-existing kind of network, within that community to sell tickets. I think events are great, but please don't underestimate the amount of work that go into them. We work so late working on Fevolution. Most nights we're kind of up doing Fevolution social posts and kind of sending off emails, and it's a really big job to organize a large scale event. But I think events are beautiful ways of bringing people together, and there are ways of doing them in a less formal setting. And I think if you're a small business and you want to kind of demonstrate your product or get people together, I think just try and do it and try and find somewhere that fits with you, whether that's a cafe or a local vegan cafe or a business that kind of wants to promote what you're doing, and partner up with people who maybe have the space if you have a product or you have an idea. And so you can get things for free, we're doing the bite-sized vegan talk when she comes to London.
Emily.
Of Emily, and we've organised that, and we, Judy worked her ass off, and she must have emailed about 200 venues to finally get one that we could get for free. And it took a lot of her time to organise that. But if you work hard enough, you can find venues. You might have to be compromised on some things. So I think bringing people together is always a good thing. And what you want to do as a brand, you want to build your allies, don't you, and the people who
exactly
your champions. So every business, will have its champions. Fevolution has its champions, and it's about if you can bring those people together to kind of test your product and kind of be part of it, involve them in some way, that's really good. If you can make them stakeholders in what you're doing, and if an event's sometimes a good way to do that. So I definitely think I recommend doing them, but I recommend thinking carefully about how much time you have to dedicate to it.
Very good point. Thank you very much for sharing that. So what's good for those people who are, they're looking to run their own business, ethical based business, and particularly, perhaps creative service providers such as yourself. What, in your opinion, what are the key things they need to take into account before making that jump from employed to self-employed?
I think you need to maybe think about how are you going to pay the way whilst you're setting up, because, I was lucky when I went freelance. I had saved a bit of money from my job, so I was able to have a bit of time to kind of like live off that whilst I kind of started building up clients. And I was able to I had an idea of who a few of my first clients might be. So I'd think maybe start working on your service, part time, whether it's just doing one client to start with. If you're doing a service-based business or product-based business, start trying to sell that product before you leave your full-time job. But I think doing it is an amazing choice, for life balance. I spend a lot more time outside than the average person. The other day it was beautiful weather and I went for a bike ride at 4:00 because I was like, well, I've been up working since 8. It's beautiful outside. I think I'm just going to call it a day there, and I might do a bit later on. So you have that flexibility to kind of get out and enjoy your natural surroundings. And it's also about thinking about where you live, and what your outgoing is going to be. So for me in London, outgoings are very high. But, if you've got a business that doesn't require so much you to be in a certain location, do you start your business from basing yourself in a place where it's cheaper to live, so your outgoings are sort of lower, as you sort of like build up your business. There's lots of people going off to Colombia, Costa Rica, Bali, Thailand to set up businesses because actually you can live very cheaply there. And if you're doing something remote, it can give you the time you need to kind of establish your business.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
I think you've got and I think the main thing to sort of like say is that it's brilliant, but it's equally challenging, and you've got to be prepared to be resilient and robust, and come back from sort of setbacks, but also be ready to embrace the good stuff about it.
No, that's brilliant. That was one of the questions I was going to ask, is about the qualities you need. And resilience has definitely been the number one quality that many people have said that you need. So in terms of maintaining a strong mental and emotional well-being as a business owner, because like you say, running a business, there can be challenges, stresses and the good times and the challenging times. Are there any specific things that you do to manage that and to, ensure that you have this strong mental and emotional well-being as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, I meditate every day. So that's I think you find a common thread with small business owners that a lot of them meditate. So I've meditated 53 days in a row now for 20 minutes a day.
Wow.
So I'm doing
that's
that.
Very good.
My friend Greg Lowe, he's a vegan actor, and he challenged me and Judy to do a 100-day meditation challenge. And I love challenges. So I was like, what is the challenge? Do I get anything at the end of it? Do I get a medal? You don't get a medal, you get well-being. I was like, okay. So
that'll do.
Day 53 of 100 days meditation. And meditation has been something that definitely in the last few years I've incorporated quite regularly into my life. And also running and exercise, regular exercise. I find for me they're just activities that enable me to organize my thoughts. It's quite often, someone who has multiple potentials and lots of different projects going on, it's the biggest challenge is knowing what to do first. And I find, mindfulness and sitting every day helps me have a better intention and know about how to get the most from my day. And, same with running, it helps me organize my mind and work out exactly where I need to focus my energy. So they're kind of key things that I do. And I think you just got to not be hard on yourself. There's always going to be something you can't do. I think that's fine as well. That's totally fine. That's the nature of running a business, is that you're not always going to be able to do everything. And it's about accepting that and saying, yeah, okay, that's next time. Tomorrow's a new day, and I make it.
That's a good point. Actually, I know I get caught up in that sometimes. I'm like, I've got to do this now. I've got to get it all done today. And it's like, no, actually, you don't.
The
very good advice.
Tomorrow.
Exactly. Or hopefully it will. Yeah, no, it's true. No, that's great advice. Thank you. So final question then, Damien, what's your long-term vision? Oh, actually, no, I wonder what I wanted to ask you, because you've come you've come from the non-profit sector. I know you've worked a lot in non-profit on grassroots advocacy campaigns, and now you're running your own business, for-profit business. So I'm just curious, what, if any, mindset shifts did you need to do in order to be able to make that transition?
I just actually bought a book for Judy. It was her birthday. My partner Judy, who I work with, Amanda Palmer from Dresden Dolls. It's a band about the art of asking.
Oh yeah.
I haven't read it yet. I may have bought it partly for myself too. No, but it's about not being afraid to ask and say, okay, I'm offering a service of value and I need to be paid for that as well. Like I said earlier, do things, be of service to people, help people, do be kind with your time, be generous with your time, but being okay with saying, I'm of value, my business is of value, and I need to obviously pay my rent, eat, have a life. So accepting that it's okay to ask for money, and that money is the thing that makes is this currency system we have in the world at the moment. We live in a society where we need it to function, and it's about sort of accepting that that's all right. And I think for me, because most of my clients are from the non-profit worlds, it means I probably don't get paid as high as some of the other creative agencies that work out there. But it also means that I maybe don't feel so bad about asking for money, because I know that I'm helping something that is good and that I'm dedicated to it too. So I think maybe because we're kind of work mostly like ethical organizations, I'm cool with that, because I know I'm not putting my time into something that is detrimental to the world.
Got it. So just final question then, what's your long-term vision for the Growing Box and for yourself?
I want the Growing Box to be kind of the leading choice for vegan businesses who want to tell the world about their products or campaigns. So that's how I see the Growing Box, where it's going. And I want to sort of grow that agency and, recruit more members of staff to work with us and kind of, become a bigger agency, what means we can do more work. And, I see us producing more things like Swine, more kind of mix of short form, really engaging social content, and the longer form, short documentary style content for clients. So I was talking to a friend the other day, actually, and we're saying how people only ever now want videos that are either 40 seconds to a minute or like 10 minutes plus. They don't want anything in between.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think I like getting that shift between like the kind of phone video, and then kind of the people getting tired of journalism, tired of these kind of like one point articles. I think people want something that's a bit deeper. So I hope we kind of create more films for people and kind of become that agency of choice for vegan businesses, and continue doing work with charities as well, and people like Viva and Veganery who've worked with in the past. So I think that's. Do you work
with just British or European clients, Damien, or do you work with international clients potentially?
Potentially, you could definitely work with international clients. At the moment, most of our work, we've actually been working with Care International, who are an international organisation, and technically being paid by Care Denmark. So,
okay.
I suppose we do work with international clients as well, and we have done in the past. But generally mostly UK and European, but that's not to say exclusively. And I suppose for me personally, I'm hoping to make a feature-length documentary as well. So that's kind of my personal next big film project. I'm going to be making some short films. Hopefully we'll be making another film with Viva going forwards, and I'm definitely hoping to work on a feature film, and I really hope that in a year's time I can come on this podcast and talk about the process of how I got that to the point where I'm making it, because I'd be making it in a year's time.
That sounds wonderful. We'll definitely keep us posted with that. That's been brilliant. You've shared some great insights, Damien. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, honestly, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
So that was Damien Clarkson from The Growing Box. You can find out more at growingbox.co. And that link is on the show notes page at veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts. Now for our vegan business news roundup. Vegan makeup brand Velvet 59 has opened a flagship store in Orange County, California, reports OC Weekly. As well as selling its products, which are also gluten and paraben-free, founder Paris Manning will host makeup certification classes with industry professionals coming along as guest teachers. Velvet 59 was launched in 2014 and its products are inspired by Manning's love of vintage Hollywood glamour. I love that. I'm a big fan of vintage Hollywood glamour myself. In just 2 years, the brand has earned praise from elite Hollywood makeup artists, beauty bloggers, and Oprah Winfrey. I'm pleased as punched about this marrying of glamour with compassion. It's great to see vegan brands offer fabulous products that are good for people, animals and planet, and let's hope that this becomes the norm. More good news on the beauty front. Marie Claire in the UK ran a feature highlighting vegan beauty products. It's a list-type article featuring several brands, including Kat Von D, Pi, Rahua, and the Vegan Kind Beauty Box. I love how the article starts. The writer says, "You're going to want to try all these." Now, there are some brands included whose entire range isn't vegan, but certain products are. Hopefully, the more these brands see that it's possible to eliminate animal products from everything, the more full vegan companies will see. Meanwhile, Cosmopolitan, also in the UK, ran a piece providing tips for feeding vegetarians and vegans at barbecues. The article is written by longtime vegan Amy Pay, and as she tells readers, it doesn't have to be stuffed mushrooms and salad. That made me laugh, and I'm sure some of you listening can relate, as most of us have been served up the traditional stuffed vegetable and accompanying lettuce. Along with helpful cooking tips, the piece mentions vegan meat alternative brands including Heather Mills's V-Bites and Fry's Family Foods. It's great to see mainstream media publishing such positive articles and giving people ideas and inspiration. And of course, it's another reason for you as a vegan brand to stay top of mind with journalists. Camilla Fayed, brother of Dodi Al Fayed, who died in the car crash with Princess Diana, and daughter of Egyptian-born Mohammed Al Fayed, the former owner of Harrods, has opened a plant-based restaurant in London's Notting Hill, reports the Daily Mail. The restaurant, called Pharmacy, and that's spelt Farmacy, is not completely vegan because eggs are served, but the rest of the menu is plant-based. Fayed previously headed up fashion label Issa, which designed the Duchess of Cambridge's engagement dress. Now she's turned her back on fashion and moved into food. She's reportedly decided to move into the restaurant business as she felt London was behind New York and LA in providing the kind of health food she and her friends like to eat. So yeah, she's coming from a health perspective rather than an ethical one and serves eggs. But I think this story is important and positive because the more wealthier and well-connected people move away from animal products, the better. And she could have opened a paleo or a meat-based restaurant. So I think we need to celebrate steps in the right direction. Grime artists in the UK are embracing vegan food thanks to Cook Daily, an eatery located in a shipping container in Box Park, which is a pop-up mall in Shoreditch in East London, reports the Irish Examiner. Owner and chef King says he gets his inspiration not from chefs anymore, but from musicians, creative designers and tattoo artists. In fact, one of the menu items, high grade, is influenced by marijuana. Now, if you're wondering what a grime artist is, you're not alone. When I first saw the headline, "Meet the man serving up vegan food to the biggest names in grime," I thought it was a typo and was meant to read crime, and I had visions of some kind of vegan mafia hanging out in Shoreditch. So I googled it, and apparently, apart from its original meaning dirt, grime is a form of dance music. So you learn something every day. And maybe this is your takeaway for today. The menu at Cook Daily comprises healthy bowls, including a mix of raw and cooked dishes, many inspired by South Asian culture. So it seems that vegans are getting cooler and cooler, which is pretty fantastic as it reaches more diverse ranges of people. Finally, in Australia, the cruelty-free shop continues its expansion with the opening of 2 new stores, one in Brisbane and another in Canberra. Owner Jessica Bailey first started the vegan store, which offers a diverse range of groceries, food, cosmetics, pet and fashion products, as an online business in 2001. She opened the first physical store in Sydney in 2012, then just 2 years later, one in Melbourne. The Brisbane store is due to open on the 4th of September and the Canberra store later this year. It's so good to see this business grow. I know Jess and I know how hard she's worked to build this up. The store offers a unique range of vegan products, both local and from across the globe, that you're unlikely to find in mainstream stores. You'll be able to find out some of Jess's secrets of success as she's booked to be my guest on an upcoming episode of Vegan Business Talk, so keep an eye out for that interview. So that's it for this episode of Vegan Business Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please consider giving it a review and a rating on iTunes or any other platform you're listening on. I'm Katrina Fox from veganbusinessmedia.com, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode. Bye for now.